What's up, everybody? You're gonna have to excuse my muffled voice. I got a neck thing on to protect myself from the wind because I don't have a windshield on my bike yet. So even though it's about 60 degrees today, the wind makes it feel a little bit chillier. So I'm not necessarily a fan of the chilly weather. I'm going to try my best to keep this off my mouth, but I can't make any promises. Anyway, what is this video going to be about today? Well, if you watched my most recent motorcycle video, that was the one that I was showing you how easy it is to take off on a motorcycle, on any motorcycle. That technique that I showed you, doesn't matter what bike you're on, doesn't matter what size, big, small, you do it the same way. You can't screw it up if you do. So today's video is going to be basically how to apply the technique, but using the throttle at the same time while you're riding in traffic. So I thought I'd just go over a few things with you about how to ride in traffic, how to stay safe, so that you can get out there and enjoy yourself, whether it's this season, next season, doesn't matter. You need to get out there and enjoy yourself. If you've been wanting to ride a motorcycle, it's one of the funnest experiences you can ever have. So right now, we're just going to start with the basics. We're sitting in traffic. We're sitting in neutral. Again, you can see the green light. I am keeping an eye on traffic behind me, even though it is stopped. You can't trust people behind you, man. You really can't. People will be distracted, looking at their phones, looking at the radio, whatnot, and their foot comes off the brake a little bit and they start moving forward. You got to just keep an eye on that. So what do we do? How do we prevent certain things? Well, instead of sitting here in neutral, kick it down to first gear. We kick that down to first gear and we have our clutch right before it grabs. Well, if this car behind me, for example, starts to move forward like they're doing right now, if they continue to do so, all I got to do is let out my clutch a little bit and get out their way. Light is turning green. Let out your clutch slowly, feel your bike moving, give it a little gas, let it out, and we're gone. Second gear, 30 miles an hour, third gear. I base my gears when I'm just casually riding off of the speed that I'm going. So I hit 40, fourth gear. It's really as simple as that. Drop below 40, we could drop it down to third gear. Dropping below 30, drop it down to second gear. Dropping below 20, down to first gear, and slowly let out the clutch every time. Not a drastic release of the clutch every time you downshift, but slowly let out the clutch. So that way, the engine will help slow you down. That's called engine braking. You don't necessarily always have to use your brakes or rely on your brakes when you're traveling in traffic that is not moving so slow, or so fast, or when traffic like that, for example, was already stopped and you're coming upon that stopped traffic, you can just simply start to downshift depending on what speed you're in. Now in my bike, I don't know if you can see it, but I'm cruising here at about maybe 38 miles an hour or so, something like that, right? I don't want to upshift into fourth, because if I do, it's just there's not gonna be enough power there for fourth gear just yet. For example, now I'm in fourth gear. Now if I really wanted to take off, it's gonna drag a little bit, but then we're gonna start to move. But if I want that instant torque, that instant power, I wait till I'm about between 45 miles an hour. If and when I'm in third gear, that's when I'll shift it up to fourth. But that's when I want to take off. Right now we're just casually riding. So right now we're down to 35. I downshift. You heard me. Rev match. Rev matching is another way to downshift and to get your engine speed and your RPM synced up so that you have a smooth downshift. You're not herky jerky with the motorcycle. You want to learn how to downshift and rev match. That comes with a little more practice, but it's a simple procedure. You're just downshift, you give it a little RPMs, and you release the clutch, and it should you should feel a nice smooth downshift when you're going at a certain speed. So right now we're cruising at 35, 36, 37 miles an hour. Traffic around us is good. We're not going too slow, we're not going too fast. And really, man, that's what it's about for me. You know, I don't need to go fast. Right here I'm heading towards LaGrange Road. Once I get on there, I know the speed limits. Here we're downshifting to 2, slowly let out the clutch. Downshift to 1, slowly let out the clutch, and we're still rolling. So that's one way to downshift. You don't necessarily always have to rev match. It does sound cool and look cool when you're doing it, and when you're able to do it well. You know, it does feel good. It feels awesome actually when you're downshifting. And if you have a set of pipes on your bike, that sound that comes out of those pipes is, you can't beat it, man. It's great. But like I was saying, for me, I don't really like to go fast. I don't necessarily have to go fast on my motorcycle. For me, I really just enjoy the ride. I will do the speed limit, just because for me, cruising is just all about the ride. It's all about enjoying yourself, being safe. Here we're in third, slowing down to 20. We'll downshift, slowly let it out. 10, downshift to 1, slowly let it out. Now coming to a stop, smooth stop. You don't use your front brake, man. You don't need to. Once you've, I don't want to say mastered the friction zone, but once you do, you could bring your bike to a stop without using the front brake. And ideally, in the end, when all is said and done, that's how you want to bring your bike to a stop. You don't necessarily want to use your front brake. You don't have to use your front brake, as a matter of fact, when you're going, you know, under 20 miles an hour. Unless, of course, it's an emergency thing and you want to stop and you need to come to a quick stop, well then, by all means, use whatever brake necessary to bring you to a stop or to get you out of an emergency situation. But if you're just casually riding, in 5th gear, 6th, and I'm good. If you're just casually riding like I am today, yeah, when you're coming to a stop like that, what happens is there's a technique that I learned from Robert Simmons, Be the Boss of Your Own Motorcycle. He's got his own channel on YouTube. I suggest you watch it. Even if you're in a winter climate like I am here in Chicago, I mean, you can watch the videos during the winter season, and that way come next spring, you can start to apply these things that you've been watching and that you've been learning. I remember that's how I did it. Look, I'm downshifting. I'm 45, 40, downshifting to 4, right? It all depends on what's going on in front of you. So I got brake lights in front of me. I know the traffic is still going. I'm doing less than 30 and I'm in 4th gear, so I could downshift, slowly let out the clutch, start to brake with my right foot, downshift. Now we're back in 1. Bike is still rolling. It's not hard, man. It's not hard. It takes a little practice, that's all. It takes a little practice to get to know your bike. And then you could become a decent rider. I consider myself a decent rider. I know how to handle my bike. The one thing that I was worried about when I first got my bike was the lean angle because of the fat tires. My old bike had pretty thin tires on it compared to this thing, and it had a greater lean angle. This one, the lean angle is not that great because it's got fat tires on the front and the back. If I had a thinner tire in the back, a thinner one on the front, my lean angle would become even better. But right now, I think I could be mistaken, but I think my lean angle on my current Fat Boy with the stock tires, I think it's about 25 degrees, or 27 degrees, something like that, which isn't a lot. So that was the only thing really that I wanted to get used to and that I needed to get used to. And after riding it this entire summer, I don't have that worry anymore. So if I were to jump on a different bike, I would maybe perhaps one that doesn't have as fat of tires, I would just consciously I would know that I have a bigger, wider lean angle, so I would be able to lean that thing over a little bit more and be a little more sporty with it. But this one, it's not necessarily designed for that, and I'm good with that. That's what I've been looking for years, you know. Even when I bought my first bike, I bought it to be a cruiser. Now it was an 08 Dyna. It was easier to flick around, stuff like that. It was fast. It was a quick bike. Now I don't know if the previous owner had done anything to it as far as, you know, upgrading the engine, stage 1, stage 2, whatever like that. I don't think it was that fast, but I remember riding with my buddy one time, and like we would be sitting at a stoplight, and I would take off, and I would expect to see him, you know, not necessarily next to me, but, you know, right there. And I'd look in my mirror and he'd be way back. And yeah, I think it was just, my bike was pretty quick off the line. This one not so much so, you know. Like I said, this one's heavier. It's not really designed for speed and you know, to flick around so easy. Don't get me wrong, you can flick this bike around. I mean, it's not impossible, you know what I mean? Like, you can do it. It's just not, it's designed to go straight, and it's designed to go straight fast. But as far as twisties and stuff like that, sharp bends and curves, you really got to take your time doing it. You got to be at the proper speed. As with any bike, you know, you could be on a sport bike, and yeah, those things have a greater lean angle compared to compared to this. But still, man, you know, you don't want to be out here on a sport bike going through these roads, you know, any faster than you need to, put it that way. Of course, you know, you do your own thing. I'm not telling you what to do, what not to do. That's just my opinion. And again, the whole thing is to get you home safe, get you back home in one piece, and live to ride another day. So as you can see, you know, traffic is moving. There's really no need to mess with the clutch. There's really no need to do anything other than ride the bike, man. Going straight. If I put on my cruise control, take my hand off the throttle, take my hand off of both of them, and we're golden. Why? Because like I stated earlier in the other video, a motorcycle really doesn't need us to do much, because it can go straight without us. The only thing it really can't do without us is make a turn, a regular in-traffic turn. So this is a perfect example of what I'm talking about. We're going to turn here, so I'm going to start slowing down. Slow down to 4th gear, no rev matching. Dropping down to 30, 3rd gear, no rev matching. 2nd gear, no rev matching. Now keep in mind, once again, all this downshifting I'm doing, I'm letting out the clutch slowly each time I downshift. Not abruptly, slowly. You let it out too fast, it can jump on you and do crazy things. You don't want to do that. You just want to let it out slowly. Let the engine, you'll feel the engine grab. You'll feel the engine slowing you down. And you just let that happen. Just let it out slowly, feather it. Once you feel that the engine has settled as far as pulling you down, and it'll happen quick. It's not like it's going to be a gradual thing. It'll happen quick. Then you can release that clutch. Right here we got an intersection, T intersection, cars coming out. Sometimes they just come out and go. So you want to keep an eye on that. Keep an eye on what's going on behind us. We're going uphill. I'm in 5th gear. I'm doing less than 40 miles an hour, so I need to downshift. There you go. Now we're in 4th. But we're still doing less than 40. I could still downshift if I want back down to 3rd. Now, because we're riding close to 40, I will want to rev match, because if I downshift, the engine speed may not match the RPM. So let me show you that. You see that? So once you rev match, again, rev matching depends on the speed that you're going. I was going pretty fast, right? I was in 4th gear and I was cruising at 38 miles an hour, something like that. That meant I could still be in 3rd gear if I wanted to. And so what I'd have to do is, when I downshift, I have to blip that throttle so that I can match the RPMs with the engine speed. I hope that makes a little sense. But again here, keep an eye on what's going on behind you. Slowly let the clutch. Let's go. 3, 4. Watch this gray van over here. You might think about going. Good thing you didn't. Thank you, sir, ma'am, whatever you are. But it's fun, man. It's a little chilly. See, this is where, for me, like, if I had a windshield, man, I wouldn't even have to worry about any of this wind and air hitting my chest. Next year, I'll probably invest in a windshield. You know, one thing at a time, man, because parts for your bike, aftermarket parts, they're expensive. And, you know, if I wanted to buy a windshield and handlebars and floorboards for my passenger, which I want to do, that can run up the tab, man, to easily $2,000. Downshifting, rev matching, downshifting, rev matching. That takes a little practice. That does take a little practice. You'll get it though. It's not impossible. It's fun once you get the hang of it. Downshift to 1. Now when I come to a stop without using the front brake, what I do is I leave the clutch in the friction zone a little bit while I'm slowing down with the rear brake. And then don't bring in the clutch until you come to a complete stop. Once you come to a complete stop, then you bring the clutch all the way in, because then you're taking power away, because you don't need the power anymore. You're at a complete stop. Now, to make smooth stops, you want to continuously give your bike power. You give the rear wheel some power when you're coming to a stop, and that's how you come to a smooth stop. Some people, a lot of motorcycle riders out there, they'll come to a stop, or they'll, you know, they see something going on up ahead and they'll suck in that clutch, and then they'll coast. You don't want to do that. You always want to be in control. You always want to be in control of your speed. You always want to be in control of what your bike is, what you want your bike to do. That's the whole point of that YouTube channel I was saying, Be the Boss of Your Motorcycle. Because he explains, a lot of people, the motorcycle is the boss of a lot of people. But you want to be the boss. You want to have total control over the motorcycle, not the other way around. And the only way that will happen is you have to learn clutch control. You have to. It is so vital. Clutch control is so vital. Once you learn clutch control, you don't ever have to worry about going slow. You don't ever have to worry about doing any of that. And I'm not just talking solo, but I'm talking with a passenger. Nothing changes. Nothing changes. So, the most important thing to learn is clutch control. I will go on record and say that is single-handedly the most important thing you need to learn. Once you learn clutch control, you can do U-turns easily. This truck is turning right. Look at this guy on the other side of him. See that? That's a perfect example. Perfect example of why you got to predict how people drive. Not everybody out here is driving safely. Not everybody out here cares about people on motorcycles. Hell, if I was in a car, what that guy just did was idiotic. But looking at him, he was all nonchalant, like, oh, I'm cool, I'm fucking smoking and shit, oh yeah, whatever. Motherfucker, be safe. There was a stop sign back there. Idiot. So I'm kind of glad that happened, because you guys, that's a perfect example, man, of why you always have to pay attention, of why you always have to predict what other cars may do. You have to. You're not only gonna ride for yourself, but you gotta ride for other people. Again, you have to ride as if you're invisible, because most times you are. So never forget that. Ride as if you are invisible. So guys, I haven't even messed with anything, my clutch or anything like that. I'm just simply enjoying the ride. We're gonna turn right here and start downshifting. You gotta keep an eye out. Believe it or not, leaves, you can slip on leaves. Obviously, on edges like this, could be gravel, stuff like that. Right here, always look through your turn. Look through your turn, where you want to go. Don't ever concentrate on the road that's just in front of you. Always look through your turn. Now, what you want to do is not only look through your turn, but at the same time, yeah, it doesn't hurt to look down really quickly to see what's in front of you, because you want to also make sure that you're not going to run into anything. There could be something on the road that you may not see if you're concentrating on exiting that turn. So you want to look through the turn, look down real quick. Look through the turn, look down real quick. Do that back and forth. Like they say, your bike will go wherever you're looking. So if you're coming into a curve and you think you're coming in too fast, and you start concentrating on something that's exactly in front of you, your bike's going to do that. Your bike's going to turn like that, right into the thing that you're looking at. So you always want to look through and look in the direction that you want your bike to go. It happens so many times. You can tell if you ever watch videos on YouTube. You can see the ones that tend to during the turn they go too far toward the curb. Well, that's what they're looking at. That's why they went that way. And they don't know clutch control. You know clutch control, you will avoid that. turn in here.